Right now is the best time to be a gamer ever. As the time chugs along, things usually improve. Take a phone for example. Before the 90s, your phone was really bad. It was either stuck to a wall or some fella's public toilet. And then the 80s came along where you could finally take it away from the wall. But that's only if you had an arm on you like this fella. As it turns out, the phone was a giant brick. Over time, it got smaller, and in 2007, a man called Steve Apple made the first good smartphone which let you take pictures and use a calculator. But now you can do anything. Although, you choose to spend all day TikToking to smack a bitch. There seems to be this general consensus that games and gaming in general is getting worse. I mean, sure, it's not perfect, and there is some shady business going on, but if you were to start playing video games today, I couldn't think of a better time. Like, let's go all the way back to a little game called Pong. Just look at it. It's shit. It's literally 2 lines and a dot. Now look at this. Ooh, look at them graphics. Look at them effects. Ooh, I can poke my eye out on them nips. There's a lot of arguments why gaming's getting worse and it's really, really bad. But I'm just gonna go through the popular ones. So when people usually talk about this, it's usually with the blinders on evil AAA games companies coming in and making the same game every year. Where's the innovative design, Ubisoft? Where's the fancy new game mechanics, EA? Why do you keep remastering games, Bethesda? Well, game. Yes, they're gonna make the same game every year, and you know what? People are gonna buy it. It doesn't matter if it's Assassin's Creed 76 or Call of Duty 104. They have a formula and people like it. Sure, in the past you probably got more innovative game design year on year from large game developers, but it's not as if it's disappeared, it's just moved. Nowadays, indie developers seem to have taken the role of the developers of old and are the ones who are pushing gaming forward. The only slight difference is there's a lot more indie developers. That's because in this day and age, anybody and their mum can make a game. The smaller teams allow them to work under a smaller budget, taking higher risk with each game. They don't have spooky executives coming in ripping out all the good parts. No, they can just make any weird game to their heart's content. It really comes as no surprise why the best games of the past few years have been indie titles. Thanks, Mum. Oh, I forgot about remasters. So, do you remember that game we've already made? Well, what if we took that and sold it now for full price? You know what we'll call it? A remaster. Not all remasters are made equal, but when they get it right, I kinda love them. They give me a chance to play something I never would. Let's all be honest. How many times have you really gone back to playing old game and enjoyed it without being enthralled in the rosy tint of nostalgia? Not many, I bet. If you were to release those old games now, most of them would be bad by today's standards. At best, you'd say it holds up, which is just shorthand for if it wasn't for all the shortcomings of being outdated, it would be a good game. Games today control better, feel better, and even look better. Sure, some remasters can lose sight of the original vision, but when they get it right, it can either hit you with that nostalgia bomb and bring back childhood memories of playing the game, or let you experience something you never even got to play in the past. The only real problem with remasters are those really pointless ones. A 30-year-old game, sure, that's probably dated by today's standards. But a fucking remaster 2 years after release? What the fuck have they even done? You literally have to play Where's Wally to spot the difference. This is so much worse than a bad remaster. It's just a blatant cash grab. Speaking of cash grab,
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
in the good old days, you'd rock up to your nearest shop and buy whatever new hit game was out at the time. People would flock from all over just to stand outside and get it on the day of release. You'd buy it, slap it in your console of choice, and then just play the game. No strings attached. You have everything on the disc, a story, a multiplayer. You can even do some small challenges for some extra unlockables. Ah, what a time to be alive. Now we live in a digital world, and gaming these days is big business. It's a multi-billion-pound industry, and it comes as no surprise that some people want to milk it for all it's worth.
I drink your milkshake.
Pre-order bonuses, day one DLC, microtransactions, season passes, £5,000 worth of DLC for a train simulator.
I drink it up!
Yeah, it can get pretty bad. But monetization isn't all terrible. Sure, a £60 yearly release littered with microtransactions is pretty bad. Like, really bad. Like so terrible, there's no defense. Like, it's as if you build a fort made out of paper. That shit's so weak, even a slice of breezes would blow it over. But then you got the flip side. When done right, it can offer a new income source for a studio, which can let them support the game over multiple years. As long as it doesn't affect the gameplay, it's not too bad. Usually cosmetics are the way they do it. And it's even better when they let you have the unlockables by playing the game too. This kind of monetization is the reason why free-to-play games exist. Who doesn't like free-to-play games? They're all pretty good. Unless we're talking about mobile gaming. We don't talk about mobile gaming. That's where fun goes to die and is a painful cesspool of sadness. In the times of old, you had a video game. Now this video game has gone through hours and hours of testing just to iron out every single bug. They've gone over it again and again, polishing it up to a very shine sheen. Nowadays, we're like, hey, fuck it, we'll fix it in post. Thanks to the ability to update at any time, some developers get lazy. Why go through all the months of bug testing when I can just release it and let everyone test the game for myself? Well, sure. Some games are released broken, some released unfinished, some are even just a beta and you just leave it at that. Just go and have that game. But if you buy those, it's your own fault. Because you know what? Reviews exist. Plus, it's not as if games of the past were perfect. Plenty of games are full of bugs and broken. It was even celebrated by some. It's not a bug, it's a feature. At least now those terrible buggy games can actually tear around and become something worth playing. Sometimes you can even just leave it a broken mess. Don't worry about it. Some crazy people will just fix it for free. I'm actually happy when a game can turn it around and become good. Why wouldn't everyone be? A good game's a good game, even if it did take 5 years. Who'd have thought games would go from all the way to looking like? Have you ever seen graphics like this? Yes? And all the other modern games? Yep, that's right. All games today have pretty good graphics. Well, not all, but for the most part, you don't really have to worry about whether the graphics are good or not. They're all usually pretty good. Now you can focus more on the art style the game developer's chosen. Will you go for the clean corporate look of Control, which throws in bursts of colour during combat? Or will you be like Call of Duty and choose a photorealistic game with the colour brown everywhere? It's a hard choice. Graphics have gotten to the point where you can't even tell where the good games end and the bad games start. Like, look at this game. Does this look good to you? Well, this is in fact an asset flip, where they have bought a few assets from the Unreal marketplace and just put it on Steam. It's bad. But you should have knew that already, because reviewing exists. You don't really have to buy a bad game anymore. Like them or hate them, but we have these saints who are willing to wade through all of these garbage, broken games, just so we don't have to. Waste the money on bad games. That's all in the past. There were so many bad games I played when I was younger, and I've just eviscerated them from my memory banks. In 2006, I bought a game called Beverly Hills Cop. How was I to know it would be a heap of garbage? Hey, I liked the film. I thought the game would be good. How was I to know that that buyer's remorse would still haunt me to this very day? So much wasted money. Speaking of money, there's never been a cheaper time to play video games. Granted, yes, a PlayStation 5 can set you back billions of pounds thanks to shortages, and computers are being taken over by crypto miners. But when you finally get your hands on that hardware gold, it's great. Games have steadily reduced in price over time and only increased in content. Back in the 90s, games didn't seem too expensive. £40, that's not too bad. Until you realise that game actually cost £80 and looks like... What the fuck are these balls? Today, most AAA games release for £60, and it's been that way for quite a while actually. That's not necessarily cheap, but if you give it a week or two, prices just come tumbling down. Especially if you just wait for a sale. Look at all them low prices. Then you have indie games which are just amazing. They usually retail for like £20 and they are some of the best games you'll ever play. They could be short and sweet or just endless hours of fun. Don't even get me started on free-to-play. A game which you can just play. No buying, just play. For zero money. Without stealing your mum's credit card to buy the game. There are so many good free-to-play games out right now that if you're a casual gamer, you don't even have to spend money at all. You can just play games for free, just download it and go. Gaming today is the most convenient experience ever. No longer do you have to risk venturing out into the scary outdoors, passing by spooky giant people with their freakishly long arms and legs. Nope, just click that button and let it come rolling in. And I'm not surprised you can't have games in a shop anymore. There's an abundance of video games today. Like, look at this. There's so many games. You could even say too many. It's never ending. But the best part is, this is only the dating sims. There's so many more. When you look at the most popular tags, you kind of realize that's a lot of fucking games. You've got the ones that are already out, but let's not forget the fact that new games actually come out every week, and then there's not even stopping you from playing old games. Old games are getting remastered constantly, and even if it's not on Steam, well, just bust out that emulator and go and download it online for free. So we live in a world where game libraries are as big as ever, but people are still unsatisfied. We're connected to everybody, but hate that it's not our friends. Games have never looked better, but that fella's got a dodgy face, so I don't like it. Expectations are through the roof, and we've never paid less for it. Do you really want to go back to when games cost £200 to look like? No? I didn't think so. Nostalgia's a funny thing. It tricks you into thinking that if the present was more like the past, it would be better. But the fact is that it'll never be the same. Your friends are older, your tastes have changed, your life's more complicated. Nothing stays the same. Everything just keeps on moving forward. Just like gaming. So lighten up, inject that 5G chip and get ready for the VR age when Elon Musk is gonna plug you into the holodeck and let you experience new reality. Also, my next videos on my consoles are dead, so, you know, don't be too happy. Beep beep.